Hey everybody, welcome to the GameSpace Game Show. It's a very special show today, a very interesting show, and I'd like to start the show, this very special, interesting show, by saying welcome back to Chris, our hardware editor, who has been absent from several shows because he's been saving the world. What's been going on, Chris?
Well, you see, Trump is living to rule another day, and you can thank me for it. That's about the no. I'm just kidding. Things are going good, man. It's good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Well, we love having you. We love having all of you, mostly, not necessarily Bowman. But Bowman, I see that you're kind of half ahead right now. But how are you doing?
Yes, well, you can blame my chroma cam for that. It's not the greatest with this camera for some reason, but I'm doing well. Me and Chris have been having some fun playing some games together. You know.
Interesting that you say that.
With the video games.
Yeah.
Interesting that you say playing games, because that's part of what we're going to be doing this evening. And talking about playing games coming to us from outer space in the Millennium Falcon itself, we have our good buddy Dame, our unofficial co-host and sometimes host. Dame, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. You know, I wasn't intending on being here, but you know, I'm catching a swipe Wi-Fi signal from Mercury, and so
you mean Corlag or Coruscant?
Oh,
out there.
Could be any of those.
There's a Burger King somewhere out there that's got Wi-Fi that I'm kind of scamming right now to be on the stream here. So
they basically have Wi-Fi at any place nowadays.
You know, his picture would be more convincing if he wasn't sitting right on top of the hyperdrive controls. That's gotta hurt, man.
Well,
Just
I'm keeping them warm. That's all.
Oh yeah,
sounds good to me. So we have an interesting show this evening because, like I said last week, we have a lot of good shows lined up with a lot of developers, but that's happening later on in July. So this week we're going to be talking mostly about the news, but we're not only going to be talking about the news. We've got some news, and we're going to be playing a game this week. None of us have ever played this game before. It's called Alien Swarm Reactive Drop, and it's a free game on Steam. And we kind of had a decision to make. Were we going to do aliens or were we going to do zombies? Dane was already in space, so he was already voting for aliens. And you know, I think Chris was kind of the deciding factor on this one. Why did you decide to go with aliens this week, Chris?
Just because they look cool. But see, here's the thing. I'm actually a zombie guy. Zombies trump aliens every day of the week, and pop culture be damned, because pop culture has driven that thing into the ground. But zombies are a cool, terrifying thing. Have you guys ever considered how terrible the world would smell if there was actually a zombie invasion?
That's actually a good point.
Absolutely.
That's not the first thing I would thought of.
And not pictured very well in zombie media. You never see the people in The Walking Dead holding their noses, but they would have to.
They would definitely have to do that. I never thought of that.
Well, you know, I did. There was a couple episodes where, like,
don't undermine my point.
I mean, you know, it all
next time we
depends
should
on.
be playing Call of Duty Black Ops and get some zombies in.
It really all depends on what time of year it is, though. I mean, because if it's around Oktoberfest, then I mean, like the smell outside. I mean, who knows? Is it Oktoberfest or is it zombies? Could be one.
It's Zombie Fest.
Well,
and you go a little further, it's zomsicles, the zombie popsicles, right? See, but that's another thing that is not well represented in zombie media. Zombies, if they're frozen, man, the threat is gone in the wintertime. You just go out, go to the playground, have a great day.
That's true.
You know?
You just take
all those fluids around there, and you know, once it gets below freezing, they're pretty much done for.
But you know, that's why the show is still in, you know, Virginia. Technically, they're still filming in Atlanta.
Virginia gets cold. It freezes. It freezes everywhere in North America.
But if they really wanted to make the show go off the rail, they'd go up north to New York, and they would not ever have a problem.
You know, there's actually we do have some zombie news to talk about. But before we get into the zombies and all the news, let's kind of tap into this game, see what's going on with Alien Swarm Reactive Drop, because we're going to be killing and news chatting. So all of you guys out there on the podcast, if you want to see what we're playing or why one of us is probably screaming like a girl, head on over to the stream and check it out. So
it says we need a tech marine. See, I was feeling optimistic about playing a character named Wildcat, but I'll go and I'll be a tech. I'll be Crash.
You're going to be Crash? Because I thought that was supposed to be Dame. Dame was supposed to be Crash.
All right, now, hold on.
And then I switched gears. So.
I'll be Vegas.
All right.
Vegas is where it's at. Number 1, he looks cool, but number 2, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
He looks
that was coming. Knew that was coming.
He looks like Falcon from Avengers. Doesn't he?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah.
I could see that.
I'm forcing you guys ready.
Oh, no. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about as far as the news is concerned, we're going to talk about this news that Corsair buys Elgato. What do you guys think about that?
I think they'd better figure out how to strap some RGBs onto their capture devices.
Did you not see the memes on Facebook?
No, I did not.
Somebody posted a meme on Facebook, and it was an Elgato capture card, and they put little glowing buttons on top of it, red, pink, blue, and orange. I think it was. They're like prototype Corsair streaming device.
Really?
Could be a thing.
It was awesome.
Oh, hey, Tech Boy, get over here.
I am completely not able to move at all on my.
No.
It is not allowing me to move, so that's not. I mean, I have a million things open right now, which could be the reason for it. But let me see if I can.
All right, guys,
figure this out.
Just go back there and just start blasting them.
There we go. I got it.
Yeah, we like blast.
So.
We're like robots.
So I think it's actually a pretty interesting move by Corsair, because they've got all sorts of other different things and have kind of been, I mean, their lighting stuff is awesome. Their peripherals are great and stuff like that. And so if they're trying to grow their business, I don't know. I guess
think it's interesting that they would try and grow their business that way, though. I mean,
streaming is really picking up lately.
Mr. Hardware Editor might have a little bit more insight in what Corsair's been up to.
Well, Corsair, they're getting their hands into all kinds of different stuff, and I think this is just one more expansion. So I don't necessarily find this that odd, honestly, because what they're trying to do is to just increase their brand within their sector. And I think one of the things we've seen from them is their sector is pretty much PC gaming, period, at this point.
Right.
Well,
let's keep in mind, too, that they're still going to be a separate entity within Corsair.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, so...
don't shoot me!
Does it actually hurt whenever I shoot you?
You can actually hurt each other.
Okay, well now I know because I've been shooting through all you guys for I don't know how long. So good to know. Good to know, everyone.
Yeah. So in any event, I think this will be a good thing.
Okay, so we went from shooting each other in this game to throwing grenades at each other. That's not a good plan. So I do think it's a good move for Corsair, and we'll see how that turns out. I mean, as long as nothing is really changing in the way of, what Elgato's putting out, then I don't really see a problem with it. I don't think it's really going to change anything in terms of pricing, which would be nice because I've really wanted a Stream Deck for a while.
Well, so here's the thing, though. Corsair, they get a little bit of a bad rap in terms of their software. However, having been on the ground floor of their software since their first K70 RGB, it has come such a long way. So, just looking at them whole picture, they make awesome stuff and they make high quality stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have faith that they can do well with that. It's just going to be a matter of essentially sticking their branding on it. I mean, I can't see how much they would really do differently with that kind of product. It's a capture card. All of your video comes out rainbow. That might be the
They're
concern.
gonna say Pokeball Go. I am almost out of ammo, guys.
So let's move on to the next topic that we have on the list, which is kind of also in the vein of hardware. It seems that HTC was showing off a new Vive, which is called the Vive Focus. And the Vive Focus is going to be a cordless. It's going to be a wireless system that seems like they're getting ready for the 5G explosion that's going to be happening in cell phones in probably this next year. We're going to start seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. So Chris and I talked about this a little bit before, where we were saying that while this is a good move, we were worried about the pricing on it. So
Oh no!
It's all right. You kind of
Chris, no!
our whole
It
team's
slowed
dying
down
right
my
now.
screen.
If you're
It
wondering,
slowed down my screen to make me watch Bowman dying as I was dying.
well,
Anyhow,
we failed the
So-
mission. I was
Because
still
you
alive.
lost.
I just
you
want you
lost
guys
your
to know
tech.
that I was still alive. I was doing horribly, but I was still
You
alive.
lost your tech, and I ran out of ammo, so I was trying to throw down my auto turret, and then Dane killed me.
so about this Vive Focus. All right. So number one, this thing is not available in the United States yet, although it's planned to come to the U.S. later this year. Over in China, the thing is selling for the equivalent of $600. Now, the actual Vive, right? I think is $500 now. Like, let's pull this up real
Yeah,
quick.
well, the old Vive is, except like the new upgraded one is still extremely expensive. And then they added. It's not just that it was expensive. They added like peripherals to it that you can buy on top of the system itself, right? Which is pretty insane.
So where we're heading in the world of VR seems to me to be wireless. Okay, VR you can take other places. Like, so we've seen the Oculus Go, which is kind of like a Gear VR, except better, right? And all of them also have better visuals, which is important to note. Like, you can buy any one of these headsets, whether it's the Oculus Go, the Lenovo Mirage Solo, or this HTC Focus, and you'll get a better visual experience. But for them to come out at $600 is going to shoot themselves in the foot. But the reason why that 5G is important, and why I hope they lower the price to get that out in the mainstream, is they were also adding game streaming.
Right.
Which is huge.
And we know that that's kind of the way the market's been going lately, is everyone's been talking about, we want to stream our games. We want you to buy like a service where we're streaming to you. And they mentioned also that, and I didn't get too far into this, but Viveport is something that is basically their service for streaming. Is that what that is, Chris? And
Viveport is just a storefront, and you can get it's kind of like a Netflix, but you actually download the games.
Okay, interesting. So it says
like
that
Game Pass.
They said that it kind of works like an optimized version of Riftcat's V-Ridge, which is something that I've used a few times. It allows you to kind of stream any game onto mobile VR, which I thought was pretty amazing because it cut down the cost of buying one of those big hefty systems. So maybe we're going to see a lot more of that happening in the future, not necessarily with this new Vive, the Vive Focus, but maybe we'll start seeing that in the next generation of cell phones too, where everything's just kind of going to be streaming towards cell phone use, because they're talking about doing it through 5G anyway. So really, is it even important to buy the set now, or should people just be waiting for the next generation of cell phones?
I think they should buy the set now.
Clear cut. There you go.
No, because I mean, you can in the world of tech, right? You're always going to be waiting. If you don't buy in at a certain point, you're gonna. All right, I'll put it like this: there is always an upgrade coming. Always. It's like the minute you have your hands on something, the next thing is already probably 6 months to a year in development. So, right. I mean, there's no point really in waiting, especially when you have tech that ostensibly is going to offer a better visual experience than the VR systems that hook up to a major PC, but also could open the door to something like Viveport with game streaming. Like, wouldn't that be awesome? You pay I think it used to be like $20 a month. Now, that might not be correct, but you pay this fee, and then you get access to hundreds of different VR experiences at a level that visually would be better than what you would get at the normal HTC Vive. And remember, if it's game streaming, then you're also going to be getting that coming from a high-powered PC. So, it's like you're getting you're just getting like what would be the best VR experience right now, assuming game streaming doesn't just make you puke, which is an important consideration.
It is. It is.
Any latency could make you really nauseous in there.
And if you're talking about doing it through a wireless 5G network, which is supposed to increase throughput quite a bit compared to what we're using now, but even still, that's kind of what happened with 4G. And 4G is pretty great, and it works amazingly until it doesn't. And at that point, you're pretty much out of luck. So if you're trying to stream games in an area that has very poor 5G, you're gonna cry a lot,
time.
I think we're waiting on you, Roman, for the.
I was trying to find a second because Chris switched off of tech, and that's not allowing us to play the game now. We have to have one of each character.
Oh, you switch over. You died first. That means
we have to have one of each.
No, I can be a tech.
Still.
What does a tech do? How do I switch?
You open doors.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Click on your character.
That's it. I just need to open a door because that's pretty much all I'm good for is opening doors.
You still blast people.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about something else that we heard a little bit about at E3, but we heard a lot more about it on Twitter the other day. BioWare was talking about Anthem, and they were saying that they have no plans in Anthem for cross-platform play. What do you guys think about that? I mean, most games, in some fashion, are kind of going cross-platform, right? So, what do you think? Is this kind of like a move from 2010 and saying, hey, no, we're not going to let people play together? Or is this a smart move?
Do we have?
Well, considering there's no multiplayer starting off in this game, it won't really be that big of a deal, will it? I mean, no like PvP.
What do you mean?
They said there was going to be like no PvP or something.
I don't know about that.
It's going to be multiplayer PvE or something. Is what I thought they said.
Interesting.
Do we have an official comment on what platforms Anthem is going to be on?
Ooh,
Xbox.
All of them. I'm sure.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
I hacked a panel, and I have no idea how I did that.
You have to hit E.
You are the tech.
Down here.
I'm still trying to break through that panel. I don't know why. That's my one job, and I'm going to do it.
My one job in this damn ship, and it's a bad job, but I'm going to do it.
That's all right.
We all know what I'm talking about, don't we?
I think I might have accidentally tried to heal you with grenades earlier.
Ooh.
Accidentally.
So do we all know what I'm talking about?
Yes, we do. We all know what you're talking about.
Pop culture nerds, come on.
Galaxy Quest, we get it. So there are a few other things that they mentioned on the Twitter Q&A. One of those things is that there's no gender variations for the javelins, so you're not going to have female and male mechs or anything like that. Pre-order items will be given to players right after completing the tutorial, so you're going to have to at least get through the tutorial before. Okay, I'm getting shot by
probably
somebody.
Dane.
Yeah, probably you.
Healing beacon is going down.
Just
everybody cuddle. Hug a healer.
I need that. I need the healing.
Hug my healer.
All the javelins have the same movement speed outside of combat. There will be character customization options at the start of the game. There is a chance that loot for the javelins will drop, and that is different than the one that you're currently using. So you're going to be able to. It's basically RNG. You're going to get random loot for random javelins, I guess, whether you have them or not. I'm not really sure. There's no trading at launch to preserve balance control. There is a weather system. There are rewards for exploration. Let's see.
Shocking, that one. Do you think they had to release a press release to say they were going to reward exploration in Anthem?
Well,
maybe.
Guys, we have a news drop for you. Get in touch with Kotaku and IGN. Rewarding.
Oh, I got to do this, right? This is my thing. You guys were like blasting through the door, right? And,
yep.
Yeah, well, that wasted all my ammo last time. Don't do that.
I'm gonna rewind us just a little bit here, because you know the cross-platform thing that's becoming more contentious, and I would guess and this might be completely incorrect, but I wonder how much this is related to their relationship with Sony, because it seems to me that the real stick in the mud when it we're stuck.
I totally re-welded the door, guys. I'm sorry about that.
You shut us in.
That's not a thing. So in this game, you have an option to weld and unweld doors, and apparently I re-welded the door.
Apparently you were making us foobar.
Yep, I totally split our team.
People are complaining about us multitasking, friends.
I thought this was going to be an easy, simple game that we could face roll, and we're just killing ourselves over and over and over again. So
we really are.
Great choice on the game, guys.
Yeah, Jackson.
Just saying, Rocket League might have been simpler to do this with, but no. So if we want to. If we want to like speculate, because all this is right now is just blind speculation. I'm dying, by the way.
Okay.
I would say this may have something to do with Sony, because Sony has been the real stick in the mud when it comes to this crossplay. Because we've seen this with Fortnite, right? Where people want to be able to take their progress with them and things and their purchases, and Sony is in the position of leading the market right now with the PlayStation 4, so they don't have to compromise on that. And we've heard Phil Spencer come out and say that, you know, if in the perfect world, he would like people to be able to play with their friends no matter where they are. What is this thing I have? I can put down a turret? I didn't even know I had that ability. Why is that?
I'm still not entirely sure how to use abilities.
Well, if you roll your mouse button, it'll get you a second weapon.
No.
I need a tech in here.
Okay.
In here.
I'm a tech, and I'm trying to get whatever this stuff is.
In here.
Yeah, come in here.
Stay together for the kids.
He did it all for the tech.
I'm out of ammo.
I'm supposed to be able to give you ammo, but I'm not sure how to do that. Everyone on the podcast, just so you know, I have no idea what I'm doing half the time.
Come here, puppet boy.
That's okay.
Hey, when did I become keyboard king? Brandon Wolf says I'm keyboard king. Is that because of my throne?
Hey, right. I have seen part of your keyboard collection.
Guys, you've seen a portion of my keyboard collection. About half of it, actually.
Guys, we just need to get in here to finish the level, so stop healing and get it.
Yeah. No, we're gonna heal up just for fun. I don't have a gun anymore, by the way. So
yeah, exactly, which is why we need to end the map.
All right, guys.
So here now, come on,
get to the top room.
So here's something that's pretty interesting as well. Something that you guys may be interested in. The NES Classic is back on shelves. It's been seen in the wild. Some people have been talking about it. And it's, what do you guys think? Is it something that you're interested in getting?
Absolutely.
Maybe?
I would, if I had money.
Oh no!
Oh, he's dead.
So I am absolutely interested in it. You know, I do wish that that with the re-release of it, that Nintendo had included some features to allow the purchase of games, or some type of external storage device to be able to purchase games to play on the console. Because I think that's I have the SNES Classic, and I think that's one of my biggest complaints about it. Is that I wish that you could have access to more games. I realize that is a big hairy ordeal with copywriting and licensing and all that jazz. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'd still get it though if I found one.
I have the SNES. Yay.
The SNES is definitely one that I was interested in getting, but something that's really interesting about these consoles in comparison to the Atari one. So the Atari VCS that's been relaunched, that one is really cool because they added more to it. I mean, it's a much more expensive console. What is it, like $200 something, I think?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean, you get the 4K, you're going to be able to download separate apps. You're going to get pretty much every game that ever released on it, ever. So I think that more of these older consoles should do a little bit more than just give you the old stuff. They should allow you to get online. They should allow you to play all your Netflix and your Hulu and everything at 8-bit clarity. That would be awesome for an NES thing. Just watch all your shows at 8-bit.
That'd be pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I would rewatch a ton of shows just to see what they look like.
Right.
That'd be hilarious.
So, fun fact. I came really close to getting a SNES Classic. Really close. I went out to Target on my lunch break. I raced over there and everything to Target. But I raced over there. They had 2 left. And I was so close, and I just could not bring myself to buy that thing. And the reason is that there's just such a stream of new games coming out all the time. Like, I would buy it, and it would sit on my shelf, and that would pretty much be it. And I couldn't bring myself to do it because, let's be real here. Everybody uses emulators at some point. Anybody who's listening to this, anyone who's on this show that says they've never used an emulator is a liar. It's like the white knighting of the video game world. Everybody
it's not like we used to do it at BOCES all the time.
It's like we always did it at BOCES all the time.
Well, I think that you had to at one point, because there was a time where there were old games that you couldn't get anywhere else, and there was also a time in early Android days where everything was an emulator. You can just get an emulator for every old console that ever existed. It's still like that out there. If you guys are, I'm not condoning it because
in the time before time. When games were non-existent.
What's really interesting is that at the point of time when I did stuff with emulators, I was living in Canada, and there were no file sharing laws in Canada. So it was one of those. It was one of those.
But no file sharing.
No, I mean, like there were it was like completely Wild West. It was like, this is A-OK.
That's how Dame downloaded 700 albums in a single week.
And destroyed them all the next. No, yeah.
Just real quick, did you guys know we have an emote menu?
I just saw that too.
That's great.
I need a better.
So, yeah, but my point in bringing up the emulator thing is how many of you guys are actually sitting around playing your emulated NES games or SNES games or 64 games?
I don't want to answer that question, honestly, because
I honestly love going back to play Dragon Ball Z Legend of the Super Saiyan on my SNES emulator.
What did I tell you about undermining my point? The answer is nobody.
Chris, don't you know that I am the one who always undermines the points?
Stop it.
Hey!
We have a mutiny!
He's blowing me up. I'm so hurt right now.
That's what you get for questioning my point.
You're such an evil gaming hardware editor.
Stop shooting me!
I didn't mean to.
It out, but I can't.
There's so much crossfire. All right, I'm just going to stay back and attack things that are coming up behind you guys, and if you get in trouble, that's on
I'm
you.
rushing ahead.
So, you're always rushing ahead, and
by
you're
the way,
always dying
move up
all
here
the
at the
time.
same time, and then Death needs to weld the door shut behind us.
That's actually a smart idea, welding it shut.
That's what the game said to do.
Well, let's talk about this next a little bit, and this is kind of something we've touched on several times. But it's a little bit different this go-round. So 2 parents in the UK are blaming Steam game Doki Doki Literature Club for the deaths of two children after learning that the game has some suicidal subtext and disturbing images. Doki Doki Literature Club is a free game that you can get on Steam right now. And it's a visual novel. I don't even really consider it a game necessarily, but it's something. I haven't played the game. I don't know much about the game, but I did do a bit of research to find out what people were talking about in regards to it. But we've touched on this before, like, hey, do games cause violence? Do games, change the way that people think? What exactly can games be held responsible for? So what do you guys think on this one? Is it a game's fault? Because I actually read up on the game a little bit. I saw what they were talking about. And yeah, I gotta say there are some questionable things that the game puts out, but can it be held liable?
No, because I mean, it's. I guess where I land on this is, if people are open to that kind of suggestion, it's likely that they had ideations before playing the game, and more likely that there's a greater underlying issue. So can media exacerbate an issue? Yes, absolutely. Is it the core problem? I don't think so.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's like saying Doom causes school shootings. You know, maybe there's a correlation for some people who are troubled in some way, but correlation does not equal causation.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's
as far as like Doki Doki goes, I watched a couple of playthroughs of it, and it is a really, really messed up game. I mean, there's a lot of really messed up themes in it. Some of them are, I would say, probably kind of close to some experiences that, some very real experiences that, I've seen some kids go through. But like, the game itself is not like glorifying suicide.
Right.
And I think that this is, and this is one of those things where I know that Chris and I talked a bit about this back in our episode about video games and violence, but there's an onus on parents to know what their kids are playing.
Absolutely.
And so to blanketly blame a platform for their kids, for something that the kids do, and this is tragic. I mean, this is absolutely tragic.
Well, it's always suicide is always tragic. I agree with that.
But I think that there's some onus on the parents to be aware of this is the type of media that your kids are digesting, and I mean, let's face it, kids are very, very impressionable. I mean, we all were at that point in our lives. I mean, we're still forming our identities and who we are, discovering who we are going to be, and so when you throw something like that into the mix with that, I mean, it's a deadly cocktail as it stands. But
right.
At the end of the day, it really is up to parents to help their kids make wise decisions when it comes to media, and some of that is learning how to say no.
It's no. They taught us that in Dare.
It's a bit like the controversy surrounding that show 13 Reasons Why. And yeah. I don't know Doki Doki Literature Club, so that out there. But I think there's more merit to the criticisms against 13 Reasons Why than anything that could be in a video game. Now, just tell me one thing. Doki Doki Literature Club, is that like the animated style like you would see in... It is. That's what I thought. So 13 Reasons Why, they've come under criticism primarily because they actually show the suicide. And there is a phenomenon out there, I believe it's, what's it called? Contagious suicides. The idea behind it is that when people see a successful suicide, even in media, that there is a rise in suicide attempts of that kind.
Right.
So this is not that, though. Like, 13 Reasons Why is a realistic depiction that in some ways you could even say glorifies it. This is anime, right? That's there's a pretty distinct difference there. So I don't even think the contagion factor would be as prevalent in a way like that.
Right.
Shoot, I would say I would be willing to bet money that there's a greater correlation between suicide rates when a celebrity commits suicide than there is to anything in video games like Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting that you bring that correlation up, Chris, because the same is true. Or there have also been studies that have looked into that with school shootings as well, where you see series of those things happen because they're being publicized. And I think there was one recently that happened where, like, as the kid was being arrested, like his chilling words were, "I'm going to be famous."
Robot.
Yeah, it was really.
You sound like a robot. Like you just went all robot. Yeah.
You sound like Darth Vader now.
It must be that Burger King Wi-Fi.
It's
Do me a favor, just go beep beep boop beep boop.
Yeah,
there you go. That's actually pretty cool.
It did sound pretty good, and you are on the Millennium Falcon, so that explains everything.
R2-D2, where are you?
Well, it's it's always tough to tell a parent who's trying to look for answers that that wasn't the reason why. That there had to be something else. Now, obviously, some people could say that it maybe put thoughts in their head or what have you, but in the end, it's a parent's responsibility to talk to their children, especially at that age, because they were very young children. But I am going to put a little bit of flack on Steam, because we talked about this not too long ago, where Steam was like, hey, we're going to let everything happen to us. Whatever Bowman's forcing us to play. We just passed the mission for all of you out there in podcast land.
Everybody else was ready but you.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to talk a little bit about what's going on here.
Yeah,
we are a talk show, after all.
We are talking.
But yeah, I am going to throw it back, because Steam was kind of like, we don't have any responsibility. Whatever you kind of stuff you guys want to drop, we're going to allow it on our platform. And they did that in this sense, and it's not that the game necessarily is a terrible game, because I think games should have a little bit of everything in there, because that's how the world is, and that reflects life. But the thing is it's a free game, and there's no checks or balances in place to allow to stop kids from just saying, hey, I'm old enough to play this kind of game. If this was a game in a store with an ESRB rating, the game wouldn't have been sold to that kid, right?
Well, speaking from the experience of somebody that worked in a rather well-established retailer, I've shared the story of ruining kids' Christmases before.
As a robot.
As a robot. So, I'm going to go ahead and call shenanigans on that. I think that, yes, there is a modicum of that is stopped by good employees that know how to do their job and know how to enforce those systems or use their best judgment to do that. But you also have kids that send their parents in to get games that they have no business playing.
That's true.
And are there parental controls in Steam?
Yes, there are.
So.
Right, so
I mean, now.
Responsible parenting could address that also. But there's, there are age gates on things that are inappropriate. Now, the whole thing with Steam saying they're not going to be addressing content curation, I think, is a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think there's another way of looking at that, which is to say, if they start policing content, at what point does that become Valve being the arbiter of appropriateness? Because invariably, we are going to see, in that case, situations where we may not necessarily agree with their decision, and then you come into Valve picking winners and losers and all that. Now, I don't necessarily agree that that's the case, but that is the argument in support of their not acting in a curation aspect. There's also the element that if we want to view games as art, that there needs to be a freedom of expression inherent in that also.
Yeah.
But
within limits, though, right? I mean, you would imagine within limits.
Well, and the other thing, speaking to within limits, that always gets me is people do make that case of, oh, it's freedom of expression, they should be allowed to say what they want to say. Freedom of expression does not expand into another company's space.
Right.
I mean, like, Valve can do whatever they want, and your freedom of speech is a function of the government not limiting what you're saying. It doesn't just mean you get to go wherever you want and say whatever you want. Right. You know what I mean? And that's one of these things where people get really confused.
Hey guys, don't fall down the hole.
Lesson learned by
we're talking about suicide, and then Bowman just jumps right in a hole.
Blow up those,
he shouldn't have played Doki Doki. You know that iconic scene where somebody jumps in a steaming green pit?
That's such a... You never said
You
this
just
was a
had to
puzzle
knock
game.
down.
I didn't know it was a puzzle game. I have no idea what's going on. I literally know nothing of what's happening right now. I'm just running around trying not to shoot you guys. Like, that's my main goal. If I can get through without killing one of you, I'm going to consider that a win.
Yeah, I'm like Dame.
Well,
So-
yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to make a comment about this game and the fact that these turrets are completely pointless when you can never get one laid down before the wave is done.
Yeah.
Just saying.
To be honest with you, though, I think it drops ammo.
Does it?
No, I drop ammo.
Oh, okay. I thought
I've
it
been
was
dropping
dropped.
ammo because it keeps telling me you need ammo, but you're not picking up the ammo I'm dropping.
Oh, I picked up the ammo
Oh, you
before
did?
I died.
Because last time it kept, like, I dropped ammo and it said that you weren't picking up what I was
I
putting
didn't
down.
realize you weren't. I didn't realize you were dropping ammo until I saw it next to the turret. So I
Yeah.
thought the turret was dropping the ammo.
Well, I guess that makes sense. So talking about dropping ammo, here's something that's close to your heart, Roman. I don't know how close, but PUBG pulls out of the Fortnite lawsuit. What do you think about that? They started this lawsuit saying that they sought damages for Epic ripping off Battle Royale games. And
The
Now
only thing that's the same in PUBG and Fortnite that I have seen is the north, south, east, west thing in the top.
you're talking
And
about
also
like
the
the
ki-
like
they're
UI
two
stuff.
completely
Also, the
different,
whole entire game mode.
Well, the mode itself, I'm not considering that ripping it off because how many other people have Battle Royale? They're not
Yeah, well,
doing everything else.
No, that's their case. Is essentially, we can paraphrase their entire lawsuit to, "Hey, you stole our idea." Now, there's another element that's with that though, because they were actually getting their engine from Epic.
Right.
So I do think there's a case to be made that it was inappropriate for them to do it because they had inside knowledge on what Player Unknown that
That
team
is
was doing.
true. That's very true.
Now, and the other reason for the lawsuit drop, as far as what I've seen, there's something out there saying that they dropped it because they both have interests, or I should say they're both related, have interests related to the other company, Tencent,
Yep, that's true.
who owns parts of both companies.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
it's in their best interest not to do anything because they're just going to hurt each
Because they
other.
would be
It's
hurting
ultimately hurt
themselves in a
Tencent.
way. Yeah.
It's the whole like, stop punching yourself, stop punching yourself.
That's very true.
As he says that like a robot, everybody.
Yeah, you still got the robot thing going on. I don't know why that's happening. I would say maybe try restarting the. Why are we in slow mo? We're going in super slow mo right now.
You're going down. Yeah, the bait's
I
going.
guess that's what it is.
Notice my sentry finally has a purpose. And they jump behind my gun.
Yes, they're behind the
Right.
sentry. FYI.
So what do you think? I mean, do you think that this is overall going to
Not
be a
much
good
attention.
move for PUBG to drop the lawsuit? I mean, they
Well, I think it makes
actually,
them look bad.
like Bowman was, well, like you guys were saying, it is possible that there is kind of a conflict of interest here because Epic did know what kind of game they were making, right?
Chris, you
Sorry,
just
Dave.
killed Dame.
Alright,
He was asking for it, let's be honest.
apparently.
But, you know, do you think that they actually had a case in the first place?
No. I honestly see this is. I think the conflict of interest is one thing, but I also think there was a lot of sour grapes that were going on there, and you know I can get that. I mean, because they did make something that got really popular, and now they are less popular than Fortnite, which is pretty much their phone. So.
But they still have
get
millions
their
of
upset.
players a day playing.
But if you made it and somebody else came and took your idea and then made way more money than you with your idea, you know what I mean?
Also,
You know why they're making more money though? The battle passes. And what did PUBG just release recently? Basically a battle pass. $9.99 to do an event where you get gear, kind of like Fortnite's doing. So you know the other reason I think they dropped the suit is because hey, Fortnite took something from us. We're taking something from Fortnite. Come on.
Well, there is also the part of this too where you have to look at the parent company of PUBG is a Korean company, and there are different laws on the books when it comes to copywriting in Korea than there are in the United States.
Right.
And so there's actually a really I watched a really fantastic video on that. It's on Game Theory's channel.
C3PO?
What's that?
Was it by C3PO? I'm sorry.
I probably shouldn't have picked that up. I probably should have given it to you.
So anyway,
It's okay.
Game Theory has a very fantastic video on the differences between U.S. copyright laws and Korean copyright laws, and how the publisher of PUBG might win a lawsuit.
Really? Oh, and we completed another mission. It was
Hey,
us too, but we
Dak,
did it.
that was us.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that Dame might have been with us if I didn't blast him with a shotgun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And if you guys had blown up those
That's all right.
barrels a little sooner, I might not have fallen to my death.
You know what? We're not going to take credit.
Unlocked a Model 35 pump action shotgun.
We're not taking credit. You ran ahead and just jumped in the hole. We saw it all happen.
But he did it so that we didn't have to.
Yeah.
So, guys, I'm gonna make an object lesson right now.
Right. And sometimes the most powerful lessons are those ones.
Why don't we give Dame a chance to reboot his audio real quick while we talk about the next thing, because this one's kind of close to my heart. So Treon buys up gazillions old assets.
They bought a gazillion up.
They didn't pay gazillions, I'm sure, but they definitely bought their assets, which, as anyone who's ever watched any of my streams knows,
Would you say that they bought 1 billion assets?
Possibly.
You're supposed to start with $1 million, Dame. Come on.
$1 million.
All right, yeah.
Did you get? Did you try
million
rebooting your
assets.
Skype real quick, Dame?
What's that?
Did you try rebooting your Skype or?
I did not. I just changed microphones, so I'm guessing it's Skype itself.
It's not the microphone. It's
Yeah,
You may wanna
I would
give it a
close
shot.
out of a Skype.
which
It's
is
going to
why
screw up everything that we're working on right now, but that's
Which is
okay.
why
I'd rather
me
the
and-
people on the podcast be able to hear what you're actually saying and not hear what the robot in you is saying.
All right.
and this is why
there you
me
go.
and Chris usually
Wait.
use
Say that again.
Wait. Check
we usually
1, 2.
use
Yep, you're good now.
You're
okay.
better.
Hangouts.
I am a neural net computer.
So Treon, Chris, what do you think about
I'm a
this
learning
Treon thing?
Try on.
Well, I think that sounds an awful lot like a kind of poison you would spray on your trees in your backyard.
Okay, well then what do you think about the Trion?
It sounds
thing?
like you're putting a tree on somebody.
I think it's a good thing. Does that mean they bought the IP for Marvel Heroes?
No.
Or is it just they bought the art?
They didn't buy the art. Well, I guess the art comes
Well,
with
they
it.
couldn't buy the IP.
They basically bought the code and the engine, but which the engine is Unreal Engine 3, and so it's already kind of old and outdated. It's not completely outdated. You can certainly still use it. There are games that are still pretty popular that uses UE3, but they can't use the Marvel Heroes name. They can't use Marvel because even Gazillion at the end didn't own Marvel anymore. So it's all a Disney thing. What did they buy? Well, that's a good question, because that's what I'm asking you guys. What exactly did they buy, really? What are they getting for their money?
Well, art assets. One of the most expensive things in game development is developing art assets.
Right.
It is. It takes forever. So they can take the assets, say like the character models, reskin them, add little bits of flair, save a bunch of time, a bunch of money in doing that, and then put them into any other game. So I think that's definitely something. They could also take the code that's behind the game and tweak that to build something else on top of it. So my prediction would be in time, we're going to see them come out with a game that would probably be similar in some way. Now, here's the thing, though. These game engines, like we're all thinking Marvel Heroes, that kind of Diablo style of game, they could tweak that and make something completely different.
Right.
And they could still use that code they bought, but it might not look the same. So maybe we'll see if they come out with a game that plays similarly, or we can see some of those elements. Otherwise, it may just be behind the scenes stuff that they implement elsewhere.
We might see an action RPG come from them, possibly, or maybe a MOBA of some type. Maybe. I would
From the
dig,
people who
something
brought
like
you
that.
Freon. For when you
You're
need
barking
to
up
your
the wrong
computer.
tree.
Well, if we happen to see any kind of Marvel game come from Tryon, I'll be excited. But
You're going to be all over that.
You're biased.
I would definitely be all over it, but there's a lot of Marvel games that I'm waiting for. And let's go back to Chris's zombie guy thing whenever we talk about this next one. So The Walking Dead...
Wait. Okay, before you do that, I'm sorry. I haven't been on the show in forever, and I'm interrupting. Yeah, I apologize. I'm a terrible host. I just wanted to say one thing. Because if anyone from Tryon is listening to this, please stop capitalizing Rift. When I was columnizing that game for MMORPG, you get writing Rift in all capital letters. You know how many times I have to write the word Rift for VR-related crap? And I cannot spell that in lowercase letters to save my life anymore. Every single time. It's all capital Rift.
All caps all the time.
And not just Tryon.
Stop yelling at us.
Just stop capitalizing crap. All right, that's all. I'm looking at you, Enhance. You're going to be
when you first said that, I thought you were talking about them capitalizing on Rift.
Yeah, stop capitalizing on your game that you created. We don't want you to make any money on it. I don't mind you getting on the soapbox. Usually that's Dame's job, but I guess he
Listen, one of two things needs to happen here. Either Oculus changes its game or Tryon changes its game. And Oculus is with Facebook. They're not moving crap unless Zuckerberg comes down into it. So there's only one party that's going to move here, Tryon. Help me out. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry. We can go back to zombies now.
I've
been waiting for an opportunity to talk about that forever because this is a writer problem, and finally I have an opportunity. Thank you for inviting.
Chris, I have a question for you. Do you know how to copy and paste?
I do.
Sometimes it takes longer to copy and paste.
I'm a touch typist, Dame, which means before I'm even through thinking, those words are on the page. So
there you go.
It wouldn't help me.
I mean, if you decided to control V it, you would just right there, control V.
I was going to say,
just don't type as fast as I do. That's what's going
on. So we're not going to get into typing pissing contest right now, but what we are going to talk about is the Walking Dead AR mobile game, which is going to hit this month, the 17th. Is it the 17th? I have it written somewhere.
You mean next month?
Next month. You know what? I don't even know what day it is. But 17th next
Today
month.
Is June 29th. It's a Friday.
Thank you. So you're going to be able to kill zombies everywhere as if they were Pokemon. They're not going to be Pokemon zombies. Pokemon Go, Walking Dead AR, it's going to be very similar. That's the only reason I brought up Pokemon. Do not get confused. We are not killing Pokemon. But you're going to be able to kill zombies wherever you go. And we're seeing a lot of these AR games now because you kind of already had one of these with the Ghostbusters AR game, right? There's already dead things flying around. Now you got dead things walking around too. So what do you guys think? Is it huzzah or is it huzna?
How do you kill them? That makes a difference, actually.
I don't really know.
Because I'm wondering if
them and tickle them to death.
No, I'm being serious here because that I think makes a difference.
Maybe.
Or because here's the thing: if your phone is going to be making gun noises, that I think is going to be weird. Because you remember when Pokemon Go came out, it was such a phenomenon, and let's be honest, this game is not going to be anywhere near Pokemon Go.
Right.
But you had people wandering all over the place, and the positions where the Pokemon would spawn are somewhat random. I'm sure that's going to be the case here. So you're just going to go just throwing it out there. Lots of kids play these games, so you can have kids walking around with their phones in the schoolyard going bang, bang, bang on their phones.
Yeah. Well, and that's the worst part, because if you remember in Pokemon Go, one of the coolest things was the AR enhancement, where, I see a Pikachu sitting right next to you. So if you're holding up your phone to somebody that has a zombie next to them and you're pressing the thing and it's going bang, bang, bang every time you're tapping on it, then people are going to think that you're shooting at them with your phone. I can see where this could be a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Particularly in schools with the climate that we have right now, that's not a good thing. Literally, that will get kids suspended. Yeah. there's not a doubt. That will get kids suspended.
Dane, what do you think about it?
Ooh, I'm with Chris on that. I think that I would be very, very interested to see how the gameplay works and how you interact with because I imagine that the idea is taking down zombies as you go, not just running away from them.
True.
So yeah, I would be very curious to see how that's implemented, because I could see there being a lot of misunderstandings around this game.
So you go out for ice cream. There's an elderly couple there, and the teenage kid in all black comes walking up with his phone going, "Pew, pew, pew, pew." What do you think happens? If you see something, say something. You know how many calls the FBI is going to get about this?
A lot.
You just watch.
A lot. But maybe not as much because they're all going to be on their phones shooting zombies. So we'll see how that works out.
So Pokemon Go, I have a coworker who was not a gamer at all, and when that came out, I'm sitting in a meeting, well, not a meeting, it's like a training thing. But I pull out my phone, I'm like, I wonder if there's any Pokemon in the school library, and I turn it over, and there's a Bulbasaur sitting right on his thigh. That was a little awkward. He's like, why are you pointing your camera at my crotch?
Yep.
It's like I'm not. There's a Pokemon on your thigh.
That's what he's going with. That's what he's going with. There was no Pokemon on your thigh, and he's just trying to catch them all of something else. Maybe.
So,
what?
I told him, just feel lucky it's not a Squirtle.
You do realize that you can turn off the AR feature.
You absolutely can.
I've had that off.
But I mean,
what fun is that?
Because
still there,
it also
though.
kills your batteries like really quick.
That is actually the reason why I bought my first extended battery, so I could plug it up to my phone and walk around with it while I was playing Pokemon Go. It came in handy. I was very popular out there in the wild.
Have your pocket juice with you?
Yep. Well, there we go. Pocket juice, squirrels. We're all coming back around to it. So, lastly, before we get into the what are you playing, because we're almost out of time, guys, which is great. You know what else is really great? I just want to point this out to everyone on the podcast who hasn't been watching. In every mission that we've completed, Bowman has been dead. I don't know what that's about.
And
I was going to say something earlier, but I figured I'd let it go and maybe just forgot about it.
It's worth it just to note that. No, I mean, I think
You know,
that you're
this isn't
doing good
PUBG,
work.
So if this was PUBG, you guys would be dead, and I'd be the one still alive.
Oh,
Probably.
I don't doubt that.
But that's because you've played, how many hours is it? 400,000 at this point of
I am
PUBG?
3 hours away from 1,000.
Okay. I was close.
I saw this dude ramp a car up a hill and kill 2 people at once in PUBG. That was
Nice.
epic. It really was. That was an awesome part. That will live on in my memory for that game forever, Chris. It's like a
pretty magic.
You know, a couple days ago, I played a game, and I shot 2 people on the bridge, and then I took my car, I drove, killed a few more people, and then that same hill you're talking about right now, where I jumped the house and killed the people, I went and jumped up it. I'm sitting with 7 kills, 42 people left. I jumped the hill like, yeah, I'm going to land on the roof. Don't you know I accidentally hit the F button while I'm midair, and I fall to my death? Like, I'm having the game of my life after 1,000 hours of PUBG. Game of my life,
Yeah.
and I kill myself.
Well, it seems that kind of stuff happens to you a lot. Like that time when we were playing this game like 20 minutes ago and you fell in a hole and none of us fell in a hole.
killed
but you
yourself.
were
You
the
don't
only one.
say. I find that so hard to believe.
Like, I didn't even know a hole existed and you were already in it. Like, even before I realized there was one, you were in the hole. So let's talk a little bit about being in the hole. E3 2018 broke a Twitch record of all-time concurrent viewers. 2.9 million viewers were watching Twitch during the Microsoft and Bethesda press events. You want to know what's really funny about that? Is those are the 2 press events I did not watch. Those are the only 2 that I didn't watch during E3.
And those were the best ones.
Yeah, obviously I missed out. I missed out terribly. So what is up with that? What do you guys think? Is this the new? Is this going to show E3 that there are people out there who still want to know what's going on in gaming? Because E3's kind of gone downhill a little bit over the past few years. Like, we haven't seen as great of stuff at E3, and this year is kind of. It wasn't even like the big years for E3 are always the hardware years. We're talking about new consoles. We didn't see that at all this year, but yet, I mean, you got 2.9 million people watching. What do you think this is going to? tell all the companies out there who went to E3, do you think that they're going to want to do something better next year?
Well, I know what that'll tell Sony. They should have made at least a new video for Final Fantasy VII.
I mean,
Sony would have won the entire conference if they had brought out something FF7.
Listen, man, Sony needed more than one game to win that conference.
No,
they were pretty bad.
Final Fantasy VII is what everybody's been waiting for, and it's been 2015 is when they released the initial gameplay of what they wanted to do with it, and then we've heard basically nothing ever since, except for the fact that they had issues with their outsourced company, and they had to scrap work that they were working on and bring everything back in house.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring this back to the point at hand of what is the future of E3 in light of what we've seen. I almost wonder if more companies need to take the Nintendo Treehouse approach and breadcrumb things throughout the year instead of holding it for this one singular trade show. I guess what I'm still confused about is how E3 is evolving and where it needs to go in order to fulfill the purpose for why it exists. I mean,
right.
This has been the industry trade show for like the big news and the big reveals and stuff like that. And I think that seeing the viewership on these conferences is proof positive of that. People want to know what's going on. People want to see it. And it's always kind of felt like this exclusive behind doors thing. But maybe they've done this in years past, but I think this is probably the first year we've seen more conferences, or we've probably seen the most conferences streamed online than we have in the past. Or maybe I just haven't paid attention to it that much.
Yeah. Well,
that's entirely possible.
We live in an age where it's not necessary to have a conference, but man, I hope they do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, because anytime you get people together, anytime that you can get people together in a room versus doing something virtually there's nothing really that replaces that. Whether it's just the energy that's in that room, or I mean, it's like the difference between like watching a sporting event on TV and being in a stadium. There's something different about that being in a crowd like that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Jack. I didn't mean to cut
Getting
you
all
off
hot
earlier.
and sweaty.
Well, there's that.
Unless it's the middle of winter and you're sitting there with hand warmers in your shoes because it's too cold.
There's that too.
Well, I'm not sure what it's gonna mean in the future. I think next year is gonna be really telling, and we can kind of, because next year I think we're gonna see a big reveal from Sony about the PlayStation 5. They've already kind of hinted at it a little bit. Probably not going to see anything like that from Microsoft, and hopefully we don't. I mean, the Switch is only a year old at this point, so we've got several more years at least of that before we start.
Still banking on that Switch eGPU dock. Come on, Nintendo, make it happen.
You never know.
Why do you say Microsoft is not going to do the same?
Because Microsoft is migrating. So from what I'm to understand about the ideologies is that Sony has been doing this thing where every year it's a completely separate platform, and then you kind of have to buy into the next platform to get all the next games, and the backwards compatibility has always kind of been up in the air. And we might see something different in terms of the PlayStation 5 if they've learned anything about creating a console.
This is Sony we're talking about.
This is Sony we're talking about. Yeah. But Microsoft has gone more in the line of look at what they've released thus far. So the PlayStation Pro really wasn't that big of a jump from the PlayStation. I mean, it really wasn't. But if you look at what Microsoft has released in terms of the Xbox One, they're just really putting out more powerful consoles and kind of playing more of an open platform. Like anything that we have should be playable on the PC as well. anything that we have that's going to be more powerful is going to still kind of be somewhat compatible with a low-end spec of the Xbox One. I think if we're going to see another console, we're not going to see a different entire console. We're going to see a different iteration, the next generation of the Xbox One. It's going to be the one console. Everything that you have is going to kind of revolve around that platform, and kind of like the Windows 10 thing. Everything is Windows 10. There's no Windows 11. It's just, this is what it is, and this is what it's going to be.
That's an interesting concept. I think you're 100% spot on, because that's definitely the direction they're moving, of just having your things available no matter where you want to play. I do think we'll see another core console, but I think what we're going to see with that is more of the Play Anywhere, which is awesome, by the way. I love that about them. But I think we're also going to see them really hold on to that backwards compatibility. So I would bet you're going to be able to play all of your Xbox One games on the new console also. So, I mean, we that might be right. I do think that they're going to have a big hardware presence, though, and I would bet they will actually try to preempt Sony, because they're behind this year. Right. And the one thing that we've seen every E3 from them, and really in a lot of different ways, is they're trying to show that they are a company that you should be paying attention to, and that they are able to compete with Sony's higher sales. Like at this year's E3, they did so much better than Sony in every way. 50-something game reveals. Like, that was amazing. It was a great show, and I'd love to see them as the underdog, but I think they're going to want to switch that role, obviously, next go-round. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm curious, like, where that's going to lie, but I think you're spot on. Like, they're going to go with more of a connected future that I think probably Sony ever will be.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think it's really interesting because the way that Sony plays it is somewhat similar to the way that Nintendo's played it, but Nintendo's always played it as an innovation thing, whereas Sony has always kind of been like the power game. They want to create the most powerful system all the time. It pretty much works the same in form and function, but they just want it to be, you know, the top of the line system. But Nintendo always does this thing where it started with the Wii and the Wii U and the Switch, where they innovate how they're putting out these consoles in such a way where you are buying a new platform, you are buying a new console, but it doesn't feel like you're just buying the next iteration of the same old like you are with the PlayStation 5, you know? And so that's why I can kind of, for me in my head, I feel like buying a Nintendo console, I'm getting a little bit more for my money than with just getting another iteration of the PlayStation or whatever. I really held out as much as I could in getting the PlayStation, but you know, they do have some really great exclusives. Now, what really interested me with this last E3 is that with Kingdom Hearts specifically, it used to be specifically a Sony product. PlayStation product, and now it's going to the Xbox too. So I wonder if maybe more companies are looking towards branching out, not doing as many exclusive things, because like we talked about at the top of the show, cross-platform play is really big out there right now, you know, playing with everybody. So I wonder if we're just going to see more of that happening with third-party products.
And I feel like
Go ahead.
Sorry. I feel like Sony needs to figure out what they're going to do with that as well. Because if Microsoft is going to go down the route of cross-play and cross-compatibility, whether it's between PC and console, or whether it's just it's between, you know, their ecosystem being able to play along with other ecosystems, I think that Sony is going to lose some of the market if they don't get out of this inward focused inward focused mindset of I mean, right now they're able to do it. What's that?
Hubris.
Yes.
I think they
okay, Jedi Master Luke Skywalker.
I think they're pretty content to be at the top of the hill, which after PS2, that was where they were. PS3 came out, they fell behind. PS4 seems to be a reaction to what happened with PS3. So now are they getting hubris again? Is that the issue? And I wonder, because that does seem to be the case. And Fortnite is a pretty good example of that.
Yeah.
Yep. In my opinion.
Very true. So before we go on to our last segment, because we're running a little bit over, I just want to point out, I just found in the stats sheet of our last game that we played of Alien Swarm Reactive Drop, which I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed with this game. It's better than I thought it was going to be. But I found out in the stats that you can see everything that you have going on as far as ammo, health, kills, and friendly fire. I want to point out on friendly fire, our buddy Chris over here, way ahead of everyone else. Just insane. He's like topping the charts as far as friendly fire
I had a
goes.
shotgun.
We're,
you guys don't
we're
know
all
how to
under
move in front of a
24.
shotgun.
You're at 97.
All right. Well, I want you to bear in mind, I did blast the crap out of Chris in the beginning of that match. So, I had some direct hits to jump that up, and he was asking for it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, he's definitely asking for it, but still.
No, but I would like to point out as well that yes, there is a mild bump at the very beginning, but when you get to the point at 6 minutes and 48 seconds where I die, it jumps. It jumps up to 97. It is a very, very steep and very, very quick escalation.
You know what? You went down, and I just got emotional.
Yeah.
I just started firing. I was tears in my eyes.
Chris really has an issue with name, apparently.
Well, the
Hopefully
thing
we'll
is
be able to work it
I
out
learned
after the
pretty
show.
early on to just get behind him, because I'm playing my class isn't really meant to do a lot of damage. I don't do a lot of damage to the enemies, so I kind of played back row anyway. You can see like across everything, I'm pretty low on the kills. Well, actually, I'm pretty much the same as Dame is on kills, but friendly fire, I'm
look at where
really
I was,
low.
and how early in the game did I die?
Oh, you
And
died
I
pretty
almost
early.
had the most kills.
Mm-hmm.
You did not. All right, hold on. Maybe
I'm
I
red.
was on the wrong chart. Listen, Mr. PUBG. Well, we know you have the skills when it comes to firearms.
Almost more kills than you guys had the entire game, and I died at like 3 minutes.
You know what, Chris?
Yeah,
I
you
just
died
want
in
to point
15
out,
minutes.
as we're talking about how many kills you have, you sit back in your chair, you're like, that's right. Who's the man, folks? You see that? That's right.
I need my chains.
You be proud.
I need my chains and my rings.
There you go.
I'm balling.
Next time that happens, you just got to shout out Flavor Flav. Yeah, there you go.
So what do we got going on this
talk
week,
about
guys? What do you guys have as far as what you're playing, and what do you got for plugs? Let's start with you, Dame. We're going clockwise this time around.
All right. So we recorded one of what is possibly one of my favorite episodes of Roll the Level last week, and so had that going on. We are officially on Spotify now, so you can find us on Spotify and iTunes. It's a running conversation about life, God, and video games in no particular order. So if that's something that is interesting to you, find that there. You can find me on Twitter at Pastor Dame. And then as far as what I'm playing right now, I just finished up a review this week for a game called Gray Dawn. Rather unnerving experience, but if you read the review, you'll see why that is. And then as far as other things go that I'm playing, I am day 3 into the faction rally in Destiny 2, and yes, I did acknowledge all of those things on the top of the show of me being Mr. 10 out of 10 for Destiny, or being in being in Destiny's pocket or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so I am thoroughly enjoying the faction rally right now.
You should be after that 10 out of 10 rating.
What can I say?
Well, we'll see how that all shakes loose whenever they get their new content coming out.
We will.
Soon.
We will. That is in September, and I will be looking forward to it.
And what do we got going on for you, Bowman?
Well, I've been reviewing a slew of games. I finished a review for Super Mega Baseball 2, which was awesome.
It sounds super mega.
it's not what you'd think as far as the title's concerned. There's no flaming bats. It's not like NBA Jams. Okay.
Oh man, I love that game.
It's more of a realistic arcade baseball game, kind of like RBI baseball used to be, except with bigger people. Like instead of having short little stinky bodies, they got like big beefy, like all over the top bodies. But I have now done 2 early impressions for The Crew 2.
Okay. As
well as I just posted a review, which has to be approved yet, I think, for well, it's not a review. I called it my editor or my reviewer's entry for this, this time around. I tried something different, see if Bill sticks with it. Where I was just talking a little bit about the game, goods, bads, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a full review of it, complete with ratings and everything next week at some point. All in all, the game is awesome. I thoroughly enjoy it. Love driving around all over the place.
We can skip the review and everything and just take that as...
You can read the review because it's awesome when I write reviews. Probably not, but... and then I'm working on Banner Saga 2 for Switch.
Excellent.
And I feel like there's something else. Oh, I'm working on Will to Live. Just got that the other day. It's odd. I get into the game and everybody seems like they're talking like Yoda. Because all the translations are like, talk to me, you will. Come down here, you will.
So they have good translation.
All the voiceovers are in Russian. So
wow.
You can tell why there's a little bit of a translation issue. I mean, so far it's like it's got PvE and PvP. It's basically you are doing missions like any normal type of online MMO shooter, and yeah.
Excellent.
So we're gonna have a review on that, or not a review, but we're gonna have some impressions on that because it's early access. And then any other time of the week, you guys can find me on twitch.tv/thewolf1, just like my name normally is on here, but it's not now. But we are probably gonna be streaming, or we're definitely gonna be streaming that game here over the next week or so, the next week for sure, so we can get some looks at it.
We're gonna get some looks at it. We're gonna get the looks. Gotta love the looks. And Chris, let's talk about what you're gonna be getting the looks at.
So I got in touch a while back with this company called Samson, or rather, they got in touch with me about a microphone, and we got talking, and I was reviewing some streaming gear. So I'm reviewing a full-blown mixer thing in the
nice. Wow, look at that thing.
Which would be cool. Yeah, I wanted to use it tonight, actually, but I needed some adapters to be able to make it happen. So soon. So there's that. I have SSD review, the 970 Pro from Samsung, keyboard review. Go figure, I'm doing a keyboard review. But the big thing game-wise
and you're not using the keyboard.
Yeah, right? The big thing game-wise for me is VR. I finally have this office set up here now, and I have space for it, so I'm going to get my VR headset all set up. So I picked up a game called Arizona Sunshine on Steam, which is kind of like a zombie shooter, so that's one. Nice. I got Project Cars 2, just because, Project Cars. But there's a really neat one called Beat Saber. Have you guys heard of this game?
Oh, I want that game so bad. But
I have not heard of it.
So it's a rhythm game in VR where you have your controllers, right? And they're really good for feeling like you're holding swords and things like that, just because of how they're shaped. But in the game, your controllers are like lightsabers. And to the music, these things are flying at you, and you have to hold out with your things and swipe in different ways.
It's like Guitar Hero with lightsabers.
Yes, in VR, which is awesome.
In VR, right.
So that's really where I'm going to be looking. I was going to play Agony, but I decided against it. It's too spooky.
For
spooky
VR,
things especially. In VR, yeah. I'm not a fan of spooky things in VR because things just get all up in your face all the time.
No, that game is not a VR game. It's a game it's set in hell. Ooh. And I've always had this fascination with seeing that setting depicted in video games, but they went super realistic isn't the word. They took it so seriously. Like, if you think of hell, like a really oppressive, bleak, horrible place, that's kind of what they stayed true to in this game. And I realized pretty shortly after watching some videos, it's like, this just does not seem fun to actually play as a video game. It became more of a, you feel tense all the time. Occasionally there's some monster boobies, and then there's like a whole lot of gore. So tell you what though, if you want a game with a lot of penises, that's the game.
So the game you're looking to play then is Dante's Inferno.
That is an awesome game. I actually really like that game. Yeah.
Well, this definitely wouldn't be the first time that we ended. What are you playing with something with penises? But you know,
last time Ed was on.
Yeah, pretty much every time Ed is on. I don't understand what's going on with that. We always get the weird stuff.
End with this. They have the forbidden fruit. It's an apple with a vagina on it.
Ooh, okay.
How about that?
All right. Interesting. Interesting choice.
Can't end with that because Dex still got to do his stuff.
I still have to do it, but we're not. Maybe we should end with that. So
top vagina apples. Let's see you top that one.
Well, when Ed gets on, we definitely will have it topped. That just sounds weird. So, what I'm playing this week, and it's weird kind of doing this after that, but it's called Mushroom Wars 2. It's on the Switch, and it's actually a really interesting game. It's kind of like a strategy game a little bit. You kind of have to move your forces around, take other forces, RTS style almost. It is, but it isn't. I've really gotten into it. Just the first few levels I've gone through, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's on the Switch, so I get to take it everywhere with me, but I don't because that's how I roll. I would say I don't know if it gets more complex as the levels go on, because right now it's been kind of easy. So we'll see what happens. My review is going to hit July 4th, I think. I guess it's gonna
probably not if we have the day.
Well, yeah, okay. If we're that, I think that's when the embargo is lifted. So
it'll come out the 5th.
July 5th, maybe. We'll see what happens, but I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I'm not like Bowman. I'm not going to give all the goods away. I'm not that kind of guy who just shows you everything on the street.
All the goods away.
You give all the goods away. We saw all the goods, Bowman. It was awful. But yeah, so I'm look at it. You can see his face. He's just like so flabbergasted by that.
I will never be on this show again. You guys,
is that a threat or a promise?
But so I have that review coming out, and we'll see exactly what I think of it whenever the review comes out. Aside from that, GameSpace Game Show every week, a podcast. Something interesting happened because I went on vacation over the past week, and we had a show, and then I went on vacation, and I did the show last week. But what I didn't realize is that our E3 show had some copyrighted materials on it. The Pokemon stuff specifically, so it actually got pulled off of YouTube. It's still on Twitch, it's still on Facebook, but it is something that I'm going to have to fix and get back up there. So a lot of people mentioned, a few of the people who listened on the podcast mentioned to me that they wanted to see the trailers for E3 because we played a ton of trailers in that show. So give me until the end of this next week. I'm going to fix it and get it back up there on YouTube, or you can go to Twitch, or you can go to Facebook and check out what we're doing. And then next week, I have a big reveal about a new show that we have coming out. I'm not going to give away the farm yet, but we do have a new show coming out next week, and we have a lot of other material that's going to go along with that show. It's going to be really cool, especially if you followed me, if you followed what I do, and all this magic over here with Marvel and DC and comics, because that's is that a teaser that it has something to do with that at least? Can we count that as a teaser?
I'd say that it's a pretty amazing teaser.
Well, let that be the teaser, but just tune in with us next week, and then follow-up shows we have. You know, it's really good that we had this show and that we had Kiwi and everyone here to get me pronouncing Treon incorrectly, because we are going to have them on the show talking about Rift, all in caps, just to make Chris angry. So we are going to have them on the show talking about some of the new stuff that's happening, and that's going to be going on a little bit later this next month. And we're also going to try and get another Pantheon show going, because we had such a good time last time with our Pantheon show. So we're going to hit that up too. And we've got a lot of other great stuff happening this month. So you guys definitely stay tuned. Check us out on our Twitch. Check us out on our everywhere. We're on Periscope. We are on YouTube,
on Periscope,
Facebook. And for those of you who want to check out the podcast, we are on TuneIn, iTunes, Spotify. How many of those podcast places are there? We're on all of them.
Oof, I think. There's a lot of places.
There's too many of them, and we're on all of them. So if you look for us, we're going to be there. But that's it for our show. We went about 30 minutes over this show, which is unlike us. Usually we're pretty spot on with the hour. It's the return of our hardware editor that caused this. We were just so elated to have him back on the show.
Comic relief. Jeez, thanks for leaving me out.
Well, you're more of a regular that we enjoy having on the show, Bowman.
But I haven't really been on in like a month.
I know, and you're kind of only partially on it this time because you're like half of a head right now.
Yes, I know. My Chroma Cam sucks. The software sucks. The camera is great, the C922 Logitech, but the Chroma Cam is
I'm just
terrible.
impressed that it works at all. So
yeah,
this is true.
But that's it for our show this week. Thank you, everybody who tuned in, and we will see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.